let's talk about the last piece for this morning's session, and that's on total compensation. And I selected this title intentionally because sometimes we think compensation is only money. And you'll find that the generations that you've got in your workplace now have other ideas. They're not just driven by money. But to bear in mind what Adam said this morning is that you need to pay your staff enough that they can afford to live. All right? So what I hope to do today is expose you to some different ideas. And if you're doing all of these, you should be an employer of choice here in Red Deer, or surrounding area. So we're going to go through and I'm also going to get you to think a lot about your own organization as we work through this, because it's great for you to think when you're out of the office about, so what exactly is our strategy? How do we, in fact, compensate our staff, and how do we non-monetarily pay our staff? So to begin with, compensation does very much tie to your retention. Not as much as recruitment, but it is very much influenced and influences people as to whether they should be staying with the organization or not. And what I suggest that you do is have a look at your competitors. Find out what are they offering employees so that you at least know what the playing field is. Don't misunderstand, I'm not saying pay exactly what your competitors do, but just know what's out there. Secondly, have a look at your economic environment. Maybe you're not able to give a salary increase this year based on the financials of your particular organization. Have a look at those details. And then look at the sector. What's happening? If you're in retail, what are other retail organizations doing? It's important to look at your particular sector to get a thumbprint on what is out there in our sector. Okay? Strategic direction, I want to also have you think about a few things. What's stated in our vision statement, in our mission statement, and what's not? Sometimes it's important to have a look at that vision mission statement. If people are not included in the vision and mission statement, if it doesn't have the word people anywhere, what's that saying about your organization? It's okay, it's just be very aware of those particular documents. What does it say on your website? And your compensation should align with that. That's the strategy piece that I encourage you to think yearly about in regard to your compensation. If you're changing, if you're updating your vision mission statement, then ensure that you are still offering compensation that aligns with that particular statement. Be thinking also, how large is your organization? Because sometimes the larger the organization, the more options that you have. If it's a large organization, sometimes it's more structured. So it takes longer for change to occur. Don't be thinking every organization has to be the same. Not so. And in compensation, be thinking about the types of employees you've got in the workplace. The generation, full-time, part-time. Something I'm going to ask you to think about a little later is, do you offer benefits to your part-time staff? Can you offer benefits to your part-time staff? Do you offer those non-monetary rewards to your part-time? And if you've got a volunteer base, how are you rewarding them? How are you compensating them? Obviously, you're not going to be paying them money, but you should in fact be thinking about those award dinners or about letting your volunteers know when they've done a good job. No different than your paid staff. Then I want you to think about your organization. What are the leaders like? They set the tone in the organization. How do they value the people? And do they think that the people really make a difference? If so, make sure you're showing your people that. That's how you're going to retain those people in your organization. Those A players that have been referred to already in the two previous presentations. And how does communication flow? Whether you like it or not, people talk about their salaries with other people in your organization. You always are telling them, this is confidential. Don't be talking to other people about it. But I know in various organizations that I've worked in, I've walked into the coffee room, the lunchroom, and there they are sitting and talking about what in fact they're getting paid, or showing each other a pay stub or whatever the situation is. So people do talk. And so you want to be able to justify the compensation that you are paying to everyone in your organization. So think about that. Also, and lastly, align. Each one of the folks this morning have spoken about that alignment piece. Compensation is no different. Your compensation should fit with your value proposition, should fit with how you are recruiting to your employees. All of those pieces will then retain your employees, which is the point. I'd like you just to focus for a minute on behavior. So these are the actions. What type of actions are you wanting out of your staff? How do you want them to look when they come to work in the morning, throughout the day? What do you want to see in them? Are you hoping to have long-term employees? And long-term, as Adam says now, is more than 3 years. When I first started working, we hoped to have people for 10, 12. When my parents worked, it was even for 20 or 30 years. Those are gone. Okay, 3 years is a long-term employee. And so if you've been able to retain them, good. You're doing something right. Keep doing it. And ask them about that. Are your employees finishing the tasks you're asking them to do? I'd like to plant a seed. I'd like to encourage you to stop giving everyone in your organization the same percentage of increase if you are giving increases in your salaries. Pay for performance rather than giving everyone the same. People are watching what others are doing, and it's very disenfranchising when you see that everyone gets the same salary increase regardless of the work that they put out. Also, how are you getting that engagement, that enthusiasm, that passion coming from your people? I want you to think about your organization, and hopefully you can think about one person who has started in your organization recently, and the passion they had the first minute they walked in your door. My question to you is, does that same passion show? What type of behavior did they exude when they first walked in the door? And is that behavior there now? And if your organization is offering customer service and you pride yourself in it, is it that exceptional customer service? You have to go a step above in this economy. If you're the same as everyone else, you're not going to hang on to your employees, nor even some of your customers. So those are all pieces that I want to talk about here, and then I'm going to get you to do some thinking about your organization. So this is a strategy piece of compensation. I'd like to start on the left where it says business strategy. So what are you all about? What's your purpose for existing? Do you have a vision and mission statement? And what is it? Is it a live document, or is it just something that's on the wall and people walk by it every once in a while and have a look at it? Secondly, how is your organization structured? Do you have lots of ability to move people in your organization, or is it pretty flat? So whatever position you come in is the position you will hold. Within that organizational structure, though, you've got lots of choice in that you could enhance people's jobs. If you can't give them a promotion, you could certainly enrich their position by giving them another different type of task. Ask your people, is there anything we should stop doing? Is there anything we should be streamlining? They do it on a daily basis, so ask their opinion. You'll find your staff gets very engaged when you're asking them their opinions, because they live it. They're not in the office, away from the action. And then third, I want you to think about that behavior that you want to exude in your employees or enhance in your employees. So 3 things: strategy, the culture, and then the behavior. Now let's think about your organization just for a minute. Where's your organization at? What does that vision mission statement say? How is your company organized? Is it structured? Is it unstructured? And then what type of behavior are you looking for? Because we're going to base the rest of the presentation on your thoughts that you have in this piece. If you are ever a new HR professional coming into an organization, I really encourage you to look at that compensation plan and to ask questions when you first get in. How is this developed? What are we hoping to achieve with this compensation plan? Don't just continue the plan because. Okay? Just give you a minute or two to do some thinking on your own. While you're thinking about your particular organization, on this next slide, I've asked a question, and that is, what is your brand? What do employees say about you, and why do they come to work for you? Furthermore, why do they stay? What is it that they like about your organization? Have you ever asked them? And what's your reputation in industry or in your community? And I've put just a couple of phrases up there. One is, a lot of organizations right now are looking at how they are respecting the environment, and secondly, how they are being corporately responsible. So what are those volunteer opportunities that you're allowing your staff to engage in? Is there any charity that your particular organization is buying or supporting, whether that be education, that you are developing your staff about what this charity is all about? It could be volunteering for that charity. It could also be having recipients of the charity come into the organization and say, this is what we did with the money that you raised. It's nice for employees to see that. Corporate responsibility is really raising in importance in employees' minds of the younger generation, 40 or under, maybe 45 or under. So just be aware of it. And now I'd like you to start thinking about your workforce. So let's start thinking about those people that are there. What is the reporting structure? How many people report to one manager? Is it something that is manageable? There are some organizations that I work with that they tell me they've got 25 people reporting to them. And you just can't manage people effectively when you've got that many reports. So be looking at your organization. Is this something that we should be addressing? What type of technical skill are you looking for? What type of education? And what type of work experience? All of those will drive the compensation plan that you should be thinking of. An example that I can give to you, now this is in Calgary, but there is a bus company. They're always looking for school bus drivers in Calgary. And so they've been advertising too on the radio and saying, if in fact you've been laid off of your position in the oil industry, or if you're retired, why don't you consider being a bus driver? So people are going to the training after they get through the recruitment process, and feedback I'm hearing is, They forget that they've got professionals sitting there learning to be a bus driver. They have to treat us differently, and they have to change their training style. Very simple example for you about be aware of who is applying to the positions that you've got open. And are you reaching them? Is your orientation, is your compensation relevant for those type of people? It's your workforce that you've got to be thinking about. When we start to look at that workforce, these stay interviews are a good way to gather why people are staying. What else in your organization, non-monetarily, is encouraging the people to stay? Secondly, do you ever prepare a document to hand out to your staff? And on that document is their total compensation package. So it's once a year you distribute something to them, and it indicates what their base salary is, indicates what their bonus is, and then also what their benefit package is worth, and anything else that you provide to them. You'll find some of your employees only think about their base salary when they think about compensation. They don't realize the total package and the value of it. When they get looking at other opportunities, that will then maybe increase their awareness and their appreciation for what your organization is offering them. And the metric that I encourage you to look at is always, what percentage of our budget are we spending on the people? And market indicates that it should be anywhere from 14% to 35-40%. Depends what industry you're in, depends how large. Oh, yes, in accounting it could be much higher.
It is the people that make you the money.
Yes, the revenue generation, yeah.
Much higher than that.
What percentage is it in accounting?
It's probably close to 70.
Okay.
If you include everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. If any of you have volunteers, do any of you? Yes? Okay, let's just talk for a minute about the volunteers. How are you recognizing your volunteers? How often do you do it? Do you treat them well every time they come? Or is it just that once a year when we have that volunteer appreciation dinner? Secondly, how long are your volunteers staying with your organization? That's an interesting metric for you to follow and to report back through to your CEO or your owner. Or your executive director as to our volunteers are with us for this particular period of time. It's to show you whether the longevity and the commitment is there. Okay? I'm not going to have you spend much time on this, but I do want you to be thinking about the people as we go into the next two sections. And the people can be the paid workforce or the voluntary workforce. Are you gathering market information? Those of you that are in not-for-profit, there is a survey that you should be checking on internet. It's called the Boland Compensation Survey. It's done annually. There's many compensation surveys out there, but I encourage you to use one that is appropriate for your sector, because it then gives you a guide, and then you can speak to your senior management about this is where we fall in the organization. Great example we spoke about earlier was WestJet. They are not high payers, but they have a lot of people wanting to join their organization. And so you can capitalize on that. If you are a high payer, doing a survey once a year will certainly give you the metrics that you need in order to put things more in alignment. Because some organizations had to pay well when the economy was doing well. Now that it's not, you can start to look at some things in your compensation plan. I don't suggest that you pull money away from people without a lot of thought and a good communication plan. So otherwise you'll have an exodus of individuals walking out the door. Do you have salary ranges for your positions? The various levels in your organization, are there salary ranges? And it's okay for those salary ranges to have a bit of an overlap. Don't think they have to be separate ranges unto themselves. And your hourly employees, do you have ranges for them? Do you pay more money for your summer students to come back year after year. Doesn't have to be a lot, but it's more you showing that you appreciate them coming back summer after summer. Base salary is paying for the time, and you do that in one of two ways. You do it in either salary or you do it hourly. So salary is yearly, hourly is as it states. I encourage you to do this external market, but I also encourage you to do an internal audit. Have a look at those salary ranges within your existing compensation. If you can afford to pay incentives, you might want to think about one of these three ways. It doesn't have to be individual bonus. It could be a team bonus. It could also be a corporate bonus. So that if in fact you've reached a certain reduction in your costs, could be that you've reached a certain revenue point, you might want to look at incenting your entire organization. If in fact you are going to have individual bonuses, make sure that you sit down, the manager sits down with the employee and talks to them about this is how you're going to be evaluated. And this is how we're going to base your bonus. I've just made mention that if you do follow the scorecard, the balanced scorecard, those are the goals, and you might want to select one of those when you're looking at a bonus plan. You might want to set your bonus plan up for one of those points. Benefits. This is important for you to do every year. Sit down with your benefit provider and have conversation. Talk to them about the trends that are out there and also look at your particular organization. Have them take their pencil to the numbers and see if you can come up with a more realistic benefit plan for your particular organization. The mandatory responsibilities I put up there, time off, I've indicated for you. Wellness and well-being programs are becoming more popular, and you might want to think about how could we offer one element of a wellness or well-being program. There are 5 areas of wellness. Don't think it has to be based on financial. What we've done in the past is if we found that there is, in our organization, a top 2 illnesses that people have, we will bring experts in for lunch and learns, talk about how to manage that particular illness. Could be that we create a walking group. Anything like that. That's physical. Financial, we find with the younger workforce that is coming into the organization, is that they've got lots of debt. They've got those student loans, and they don't know how to start managing paying them back. So we bring financial advisors into the workplace just to talk to them generically about how to start handling debt. We also look at community opportunities. We bring people into the organization and talk to folks about this is the opportunity that's out there. Should we look at one community agency for our organization? And if so, get the employees involved in that project. That will engage them more and get them more interested in what you're doing as an organization and speak more positively about your organization. We also look at doing career development. Have you asked your employees what skills they need development with and offer opportunities for them to develop that skill in that area? Benefits are of interest in very different ways to your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. Just at your table right now, what do you think those 20-year-olds are looking for in benefits compared to the 30s, compared to the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s? Just have a quick discussion, and then I'll share with you information that we've found in the organizations I'm working with. What type of benefits are those ages looking for?
store and why you don't want benefits because they think you just cost them money. Oh, really? Just go, I don't want benefits. And I can still be under my parents. So that's like, no. Doesn't work that way. And so yeah, they just like don't want the cost. They're like, well, it just is taking out money off your paycheck. Plus we pay 50%. So, yeah, so they might go, well, that's $50 a month that I could use for rent or whatever. So it's very difficult to sell benefits to them. It is. So they look at it more of a punishment. Right? I don't need that. Yeah. Well, I just have health and dental. Like, I don't want life insurance. So it's very difficult, very different for them versus, corporate stuff.
With my 20-year-old,
They very much want
more concerned about paying off their debt.
not just dental, but
Flexibility, they want to travel.
or the orthodontics. Yeah, like I work in braces or glasses or they're.
I don't care about getting their teeth cleaned, I guess.
We've
Right, because it's not like real yet.
that you have. We find that.
So 20-year-olds, what are they interested in? Or are they?
No.
No.
Especially if they have to pay for part of it.
Yes, yeah, exactly. 20-year-olds aren't that interested in your benefit plan. So get talking about that in your organization. It says flexibility is really important at both ends of the spectrum, not just the 20s, but the 60, the 50s, the 60-year-olds. They also want that flexibility. In the middle, don't forget, we've got people with children.
Yeah, I want my plan.
Yes, exactly. She wants her plan, and that's just exactly where people are in the middle. They also want to have that tuition reimbursement. People are very committed to education, to learning. And so that might be something that you look at bringing into your organization is that tuition reimbursement. But I suggest you attach a condition to it. Don't just let people go to school and you pay for the entire year of tuition. Ensure that you, in fact, have conditions attached that if you don't stay in the organization this particular time, that you're going to pay back a certain percentage of it. Okay?
Make sure you use the Canada Alberta Job Grant.
Exactly.
Canada, Alberta, job grant.
Yeah.
Can I use that for conferences and stuff, or is it supposed to be like?
Oh, I can get the grant.
Non-monetary, I just like to raise your awareness on all of these. Growth opportunities, that's the education that I was talking about. Do you have mentoring in your organization where someone can job shadow? Or do you have positions where you rotate? So you're working as an intern maybe for 4 months in one area, then you're moving to another area of the organization so that you get an overall understanding of what is involved in the organization. Different skill sets are being developed. Secondly, how are you recognizing? Be cautious of those managers who like to recognize people by taking them for lunch. Maybe that person that's being recognized doesn't like to go for lunch. Or more importantly, they don't want to go for lunch with the person that's asking to take them. So really look at your recognition plan and have it be appropriate. Don't ask someone to come up in front of 100 people or 50 people if they're shy. And it would just kill them if they had to go up in front of somewhere and get an award. Really focus your recognition on the individuals. Social rewards, have people treated once in a while to your meetings that you're holding, but you don't have to have full lunches. And try something a little different. Rather than having Tim Hortons donuts all the time, you might want to think about bringing something different into the meeting. And you might not always want to have your meeting in the same boardroom. Or you might want to have a meeting, if there's just 3 of you, by going for a walk at lunch and talking. Change things up a little bit. See what you can appeal to the organization. Merchandise awards, Adam spoke about that in regard to swag. Don't give people things that don't mean anything, though. Keep those aside. Don't tell your people, we value you, and then give you something that is of no value to them. Time off is very important to people. And so I suggest that you think about how can we offer more time off to individuals. Just make sure you've got it scheduled appropriately. Social activities, do you always do social activities with the staff or do you include family? And do you always have social activities on personal time or do you ever start on work time, and then it leads into personal time.
How important are they?
Social activities?
Yeah.
Depends on the culture of the organization. Goes back to your vision, mission.
So when you're talking about it and that, it's a good idea to get your staff involved in social activities, what they want, what they're looking for.
Yeah.
We have a company-funded, employee-planned, like, social committee type thing.
Yep.
So that they decide what they want to do, and we pay for it.
We tend to not have anything that the boss is part of. She's got a whole wellness being, just an amazing outlook in life that she doesn't believe in holidays, Christmas and everything. She believes in everything being linked together, but therefore she steps back from the company part of it. And I've been there for 2 years now, and I'm finding that it's just getting less and less and less, and everybody seems to be doing their own thing. And there are no staff parties, there are no, things like that, like we do internally.
Yes.
Like we have a social committee.
Right.
We do it internally, but it doesn't seem like there's anything that management participates, and I didn't know seriously how important that really is. But I guess that's up to the staff.
It's up to the staff how important it is. And sometimes you need to continue those things, even when your leaders are like yours, as to maybe just have them do a cameo appearance if that's required. If it's not required, then go on without them. You really need to think about social activities in regard to the people that are there.
Sometimes it's one person too, right? Like we had, he's a relatively new partner, but when he was a manager and a senior manager, he was at every social event. And then when he became partner, he stopped going. And so what we were hearing from the staff was, well, the partners don't participate anymore. And it wasn't. Actually, when we asked them, it was him the one participating.
Yes.
Like, that's about anybody else. Well,
Yes.
the fun part, there was like half a dozen partners there. They're like, well, we were there. And they're
Yes.
like, well, yeah, thanks. But we actually had a Patrick.
Yes. So did someone talk to Patrick?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
And is Patrick going now?
Yes.
Good.
Yes, but he didn't even realize
Exactly.
he missed.
Yeah, he didn't realize the impact.
Expanding on that, I don't mean that my boss doesn't encourage it. She
Right.
encourages it.
Yeah.
She tries to encourage it within us.
Yes.
And I think that
Yeah.
we have, well, since I've been there, we have half the staff is new.
Right.
I think it's fallen because
Yes.
they're within us.
Yes.
They don't realize that
Yes.
they're a part of it.
Yes, exactly. Sometimes just having, if there's a planning meeting, having a senior leader come to the planning meeting just to hear what's going on would be the impetus to include that. Okay? And then the personality of the organization. What is it? If I was to ask each of your employees, what would they say about your organization? What the personality is? Are you hiring people that match that particular personality? Under motivation, this is where I put the piece about the job enrichment. That's where you can think about what other tasks could we be giving people to work on to encourage them to stay with the organization. When you give people more work, though, there should be something dropping off at the other end. It doesn't just mean that their tasks have increased from 10 to 20. There should be some of those things that are taken off. And it's good for you sometimes to say, what do we need to start? And ask your staff that. Because there's some things that maybe you think are relevant and they don't think are relevant anymore. So be asking your employees. Learning and training is an opportunity, and you've got talented people in your organization who would love to share. They've just never been asked. Be careful, though, of those people at that extreme, the 56-year-olds who are negative. You don't want to have them sitting down with your young, new employees and turning them off the organization. So get to know who, in fact, in your organization would be a good mentor or a coach. Growth opportunities I've talked about already. Recognition programs. Think about this for yourself. What has meant the most to you in all of the recognition that you've received in your working career? What meant the most? And then you want to think about what choice do we have in our organization for recognition? Because it's not one size fits all anymore. Social rewards I've chatted about. And I think it's great for employees to be involved in the community. And I encourage you to be thinking about that and sending a survey. That SurveyMonkey is a great way to find out where people's interests are at, because they shift. And it's okay sometimes to be sponsoring one charity one year and then moving to another charity the following year.